I know this is the Bulldog Social Club, but let's talk about Cane Corsos. How about that?
Okay.
Because they're the dogs that I feel at this point I know the best, to my ability. That is.
Hmm.
There's obviously individuals who know more about the breed than I do, but there's I having four active Corsos in my house at all times. I don't feel as though there's a breed I know better. Um, so let's be honest here. They're a heavy bone, large breed dog that they vary from either being extremely, the word game bee is thrown around a lot, but I just say active. They have a medium to high prey drive from what I've seen. Uh, they come in a bunch of different sizes. The torsos that I have particular in my house, I would say come from a more standard size, excluding my males. I do have a male that is on the upper echelon of height when it comes to the breed standard. He's a big male, good looking dog. He's very sound in a lot of ways. He has a great temperament. He's definitely driven towards the family aspect of being a Corso. Um, Beautiful dog, an amazing specimen to look at. He's all black, which is a very sought after color in the breed. Um, then I have another male, younger male named Rooster, as we call him. I think he's going to be a little bit more to the breed standard himself. He's a Great Brindle dog, very very good looking dog. But he definitely has the Cane Corso attitude. You know what I mean? I don't know how many Cane Corsos you've been around in your experience, but
A handful. Yeah.
right. So you know how some of the dogs can be a little bit standoffish at the beginning, be very outspoken, especially when it comes to those people they don't know. Right.
Hmm.
That's definitely Rooster. Whereas our larger male Constantine, he's a lot more friendly dog. Let's put it that way. Right. Um, I also have two females. I have two breeding females. They're both working females. The kind of dogs that we breed in our program specifically are all for protection work or sport work, I would say. We train our dogs in the art of Schutzen, IPO. So that's kind of like what we look for. We don't necessarily go after the biggest male. If they become super large, that's just their genetics. I apologize. Yeah, Constantine, who is our oldest male, he's to what I believe is about 29 inches at the withers. The last time we measured him, so he's a pretty large male. um, and then we have two females, Kimchi and Prata. Prata means silver in Portuguese. Um, like I said, they're all stunning. Our two females are definitely the standard. They're both about 25 inches at the withers. 100 to 105 pounds each between the two of them. So, very nice, solid female dogs, both with attitudes to back it up. Um, Kimchi's more of a super active dog on the outside, inside the house, relaxed dog, very calm demeanor, very standoffish. And then we have Prata, who is active in or outside the house. When it comes to a female dog, there is no stopping her. So, if you're looking for a dog that you want to take on a hike, or if you want to just be actively outside for hours, that's your girl right there. Um, Me, so much, I prefer a dog that is active outside, and when it's time to relax in the home, she's ready to relax with you. But whenever you pick this breed, you have to be ready for whatever.
Right. And what about bloodlines? What do you think there's a difference between American and European bloodlines, and what's your
Um,
preference?
so I do personally feel that way. A lot of the European lines that I've seen, while they do create some beautiful looking dogs, I haven't had a lot of experience with their temperaments. But being somebody that really does I like to be involved in a lot of different kennels. I like to follow a lot of different kennels. I've noticed that the European lines have faults that only people who've been around the breed can really see. I see a lot of undershot bites that you don't really see in the American lines. When it comes to the American lines, I do see a lot of times a lot of the dogs don't look the same in a kennel, which I think uniformity is what's important if we're going to try to continue what we're doing. What separates the Cane Corso? That's why a lot of people struggle if they see a dog that doesn't fit their description of a Cane Corso, because you get some that look more Presa like, right? And you get some that look very Neo like. To be honest with you, I'm a fan of both. I don't necessarily look for a certain look whenever I'm picking a dog. I look more for functionality and athleticism
Hmm.
because of what I'm into. Now, that's not to say that the dogs I have aren't of a similar look because they are, but that's not the only type of dogs that I'm trying to incorporate into my program. I'm trying to incorporate the best dogs for protection work because while I train IPG, that's not my main focus. My main focus is you having a dog that's extremely um, calm and stable in the home, and a dog that can also, bite the head off of the man that's trying to invade that home of yours, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
People often mistake American Kennel for American Line dogs, which in the Cane Corso breed particularly, that's not necessarily the case because a lot of people are doing a lot of importing of dogs, while the guidelines are still, as lenient as they are. Um, so when I think of like true American Line Cane Corsos, I can't say that I have a strong experience of those dogs
Hmm.
because there's a lot of propaganda online about what's American Line, what's not American Line. So I don't like to speak on that behalf. What I do want to speak on more so than anything is breeding a type of dog that is not able to move effectively like it should and not necessarily being able to be the working that they are, the working capacity, because there's a lot of big Corsos out there, right? And to be honest with you, I love all Corsos. I think that the big ones are good looking dogs. They just don't fit my personal needs. And I don't think they fit a lot of people's personal needs. My goal and what I'm doing is to create dogs that fit the average working family's needs. That you can't always be home, you know what I mean, but you have a family and that you have something that you want to protect. So that's what I look for. I look for the dogs that are able to do that to the fullest capacity, and that's all it is. Like I said, I have not been doing this for 30 years, like a lot of the people I look up to. With myself, I have two small kids, and I have a wife that works from home. And I also have quite a little bit of property, so my main focuses are protecting those things. I want my wife to be able to go to the store, be able to go out in public, walk around town with a dog that isn't necessarily what you would consider friendly, because not anybody can come up and walk and touch my dogs, but you would never know it walking past.
What part of the country are you from?
So I'm in Florida right now, but
Florida.
the idea, if you ever been to Florida, we call it two parts of Florida: the part that people think are the sandy beaches, right, and the part that's the actual country. And I'm from the country part of Florida.
Up north or
No, Central actually.
central? Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we're that part of town. We're the part of the state you don't really go through unless you're trying to get to one part or the other.
Yeah. Is that where you're from?
Yeah, that's where I was born and raised here. I've lived in larger cities, but I prefer the quietness of it all.
Hmm.
But that's enough about me. What about you, sir?
I'm from the Northwest originally, but I live in the Midwest.
Okay, I know that it's called the Bulldog Social Club. So, are you a bulldog breeder of yourself?
No, not a breeder, just an enthusiast.
Okay. Have you,
Um, I started this about 6 years ago to explore different breeds and different mindsets within, um, certain breeds, and just trying to figure out the similarities but the differences. And that's been my journey. So when you were With the Corsos, are you nervous that the market has been flooded, or is that just you're just not worried about it because you're breeding for yourself?
So I'm not necessarily worried about the market being flooded because we're not necessarily doing what everybody else is doing. Um, and with that being said, we're also not trying to breed dogs for the average person. You know what I mean? Like I said, our main area of focus are individuals where there's going to be somebody at home more often than not because you're not looking for that type of dog that you can keep as furniture. That makes sense?
Hmm.
They're not going to go in your house and just be home alone. That's not the type of estate guarding I'm looking for. I'm looking for a dog that is to be a personal protection dog, so to speak. So much more, but from a wider range, not for a single individual, but these are my people. These are who I'm going to protect. So I don't really have that big of a fear because it's not exclusive, but at the same time, if it doesn't fit your lifestyle, these are not the dogs for you. You know what I mean? I mean, yet again, like I said, I'm not trying to breed the kind of dogs that you're gonna have 15 people over your house a week. These are for the people that just need to feel safe when they are home. So that's what separates us from a lot of people. A lot of people want a certain dog. A lot of people want these dogs for the look because they're popular now. My wife actually, when me and her first met, we had both wanted these dogs for years before meeting each other. And it just, when we finally did get one, it was because the timing was right. That's all it was. It wasn't this type of luxury item that we were using for status. You know what I mean? And if you ever had these dogs, you know that they're a lot. You know what I mean? They're not the type of dog for somebody who isn't home all the time. And I see a lot of recurring issues with people who are getting these dogs and they don't know exactly what they're getting themselves into. I don't know if that's because of lack of research or if, like you said, the market flooding, people are just trying to get these dogs in anybody's hands, right? But that's not necessarily our goal. We're trying to do it right the first time, you know what I mean? And just really having long and hard conversations with people about it.
See, I'm a bulldog guy, and I've owned bulldogs most of my life, English mainly. But I really believe that 70% of the people that own bulldogs these days probably shouldn't own bulldogs, um, mainly for the kinds of reason you're talking about, but not necessarily because of the kind of drive, but definitely the kind of care that these dogs need. And most people aren't willing to take care of these types of breeds. So therefore, I think we need to probably educate the public more and discourage more people in purchasing dogs that they don't have any business owning. I think that's a big thing with bulldogs. There's a lot to owning bulldogs, English bulldogs, French bulldogs, pugs. I know they're not bull breeds, but they're a brachycephalic breed. Boston Terriers. They're not plug and play, and I think unfortunately there's a lot of people that get these dogs that don't have the mentality to be able to do what it takes to take care of bulldogs. These are not dogs that um, are hardy. They come with a lot of baggage, and if you're really truly a bulldog companion bull breed type of person, then you're willing to put up with that baggage because you love the breeds.
I'm a fan of the English and the American Bulldog as well. I've been around several bulldogs, especially English bulldogs, over the past, I would say, 10 to 13 years. I think that they're great dogs, to be honest with you. But I can definitely see where somebody wanting to pop in and pop out of an English bulldog's life isn't going to work, right? Um, and they're some of the best dogs, but you also put the work in, don't you?
It's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort, and it's it's a lot. It's costly, and in some regards, there's some worry to it. You know what I mean? You have to be. You can't like if a dog see gets a little sick, and it's my livestock guardian dog, which I have a Turkish Shepherd
Oh wow.
as a guard dog. Here I can kind of like play the wait and see game, but with the bulldog, it's really not a good thing to play the wait and see game. You have to you kind of have to pay really close attention and make sure that you take care of them and get them to the vet if needed. Because
Are there a lot of health concerns that come with owning English bulldogs?
yeah,
Yeah.
lots of them. Like my dog, my I have an 11-year-old English bulldog right now, and believe me, it's taken work to keep him healthy at 11. He has the BOAS syndrome, brachiocephalic obstructive airway syndrome.
Right. So they have a
He
hard
has
time.
all, yeah. So some of the things that I have to do is I have to spoon feed him
Oh wow.
because and he eats a special diet. So dry food is a trigger, um, and eating with their head down into a bowl is a trigger. So they need to have their neck up, and that's why I spoon feed him. And ever since we went to that, he hasn't had aspirated pneumonia since. So those are some of the things that you have to worry about when they have the BOAS syndrome. How many people are going to be willing to do that? You know?
Right now, 100%. See, and like I said, as a dog owner of many years and an enthusiast of the English Bulldog, that would, if I were to be in the market for an English Bulldog, that's information I would need to know. You see what I mean? I would get this dog thinking that, oh man, we're gonna be the best of friends because I saw, what is it, Space Jam one time, and Michael Jordan owned an English Bulldog, right? That I know what I'm doing. It's not how it
Mm-hmm.
works. You know what I mean? You you get these dogs and they're a lifetime their lifetime commitment. You know what I mean? And that's more of the information I think we need to spread out here on the internet versus, oh, look at what this dog looks like. Look what it can do, right? This dog looks great. You know, my F-150 riding around with me on a Sunday afternoon. You know what I mean? Like these dogs, they have actual needs.
Yeah.
My Corsos, if they don't go outside and they're not worked and they're not running through all the different positions in the IGP,
diet. Their
right?
diet is expensive.
100%.
Corso,
If,
can you?
right, if they're not going through all these every day, my house will be destroyed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the uneducated owner would think to themselves, "What's wrong with this dog?" Right? Instead of "What's wrong with me?" No, I'm lucky because my wife she does have the luxury of working from home. I say luxury, but let's be honest here. When you got four Corsos in the house, it ain't a vacation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It definitely makes work hard. These dogs,
Okay, Coco.
the feeding needs. I don't think people understand how much these dogs eat. Our largest male, like I was saying earlier. So we feed kibble with raw toppers. So she creates a mush for them every week,
Mm-hmm.
and then we portion it out for the daily usage. Okay. Even with that being said, he still goes through. He alone would probably go through, I don't know, half of a 50-pound dog food, bag of dog food. You know what I mean? And not everybody can afford that. And that's him. That's us keeping him at a healthy weight. You know what I mean? Very, very, very strict weight because he's probably 130 pounds. If we overfed him like a lot of people do, who knows? He could probably be, I don't know, 160 pounds. You know what I mean? But he's already a large dog. I need him to be very mobile. So my concerns are always keep him, you know, fit. Don't overfeed him. Keep him at a healthy weight because I can't have hip issues down the line. I can't have joint issues down the line. You know what I mean? Because yet again, he's already prone to a lot of genetic health issues for the breed alone. You know, right? And if you want a black Cane Corso like you think you do, just understand there's a lot of skin concerns that come with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People idolize colors so much, and for a long time, I was one of those people. You've seen the English bulldogs that have the merle coat, right?
Yeah.
They have that white mask. They look really good. That blue merle coat. Yeah, well, guess what? A lot of dogs that have Merle, they're more prone to blindness. They're more prone to a lot of skin conditions, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, our main focus of our program, like we said, is to give you healthy dogs that we can improve because we put the legwork in, dogs that are going to do what we say. We don't want to be delivering a message to people and not be true. So we're just going to tell you what you're going to get when you get one of our dogs, and then from there, we want it to speak for itself, right? Um, we're not afraid to admit that 2 3 years that we're 2 3 years into it and that we're still new and we're still learning.
Hmm.
We're just honest about it. These are the things that our dogs can do because we can prove it, but we're still improving every day as well. Okay, so the first thing, and this is so I've worked in American Bullies, 10 years ago before this. So it's something that I was already aware of.
Hmm.
Everybody can tell you what you want to hear. The reason most breeders ask you what are you looking for, so they can tell you that, okay, perfect, that's exactly what I have. You know what I mean? They're not going to answer any questions. They're going to tell you, what are you looking for? You're looking for a big dog that can move, that'll protect you, that's fearless. Great. That's exactly what I'm offering you. And that's 9 out of 10 times not the case. Okay? Um, Starting off, what we first looked for was, like I said, being in the countryside of Florida, we were looking for dogs that do cast. All right, because the way dogs energy, the reason that we use herding breed dogs for a lot of protection work, a lot of police work, right, canine work, is because that type of energy, that type of focus to a certain task is translatable to doing protection work. I can get a dog to do a certain task. I can get them to fall in love with this, right? So, um, the first dog that we got was what you would consider to be, from our standard, an American line Cane Corso. Her name from we got her from a place called Winona, Florida. You've never heard of it because if you think we're in the middle of nowhere, it is literally the middle of nowhere. Okay, but when I got off work, working at the restaurant, my wife picked me up. We went out to see the dogs, and we immediately fell in love because this is a traditional farm. They are literally cows running everywhere, goats, sheep, chicken, everything. As many livestock as you can imagine. And when you pull up there, all you see is Cane Corsos running the property, right? And you're not getting into that property unless you're supposed to be there. Um, I also went for the puppy that was uninterested in coming up to us right away. The puppy that was a little bit more aloof, that was just, and to be fair, I did pick her because she was one of the largest size females at the time, right? I had no idea that, I had no idea of what the term runt meant at the time, so I assumed that the smallest puppy in the litter was the runt. Okay. She now has six other siblings, and some of the females are larger than her, but she is the accurate size, and she has the right temperament. Um, Her parents, beautiful dogs. Her father's name was Leonidas. He was a blue brindle, looked very similar to she does now, right? Beautiful, large male. I think he was 145 pounds, if I'm not mistaken, right? Her mother, slightly smaller female, all black, with the milk stained chest, 120 pounds, okay? So both very sizable American line dogs. The father looked like, hey, he's more the observer trying to figure out what's going on. Her mother looked at me as if, put your hand through this fence and I'm going to rip it off. You know what I mean? And my wife would tell you in a heartbeat that she got the same look. The mother wanted no part of this. You know what I mean? But here we are. We're over here picking up her babies, or attempting to, anyways. Um, So to be honest with you, the first Corso wasn't that bad. We did, before, prior to buying her, speak to another guy that had a few all black Corsos, larger size dogs. They weren't necessarily the right type. We use the word type a lot. You know what I mean? And you'll hear that in a couple different dog breeds. What they really mean is structure. Okay, so I look for a super nice deep set chest on a Corso, right? Where it tapers off in a nice triangular shape going towards the hips. That's what I look for. That's what I look for. And the original gentleman's dogs did not necessarily fit that description. They weren't necessarily unattractive dogs. It's just looking back on it, we made the right decision. So that was the first right call. Um, Also, he wasn't allowing us to go see the dogs, which is something that I didn't appreciate because, yet again, being in the dog breeding industry for so long, I do understand that at a certain point, if you're marketing a certain type of dog, you have to be willing to allow certain individuals to come see it, especially people who are serious. You know what I mean? Um, I met a lot of people who, because I had done my research on the breed for so many years, they were not willing to answer the questions I was asking. So yet again, I'm asking you, okay, have you produced any dogs that have had epilepsy in the bloodline? Um, do you guys use any type of hip testing to ensure, you know, the mobility and the longevity of the dog's hips? Because if you use OFA, I understand that, you waited 2 years. If you use pin hip, you could get hips tested as early as 4 months old, right? The difference of the two is a lot of breeders were not trying to give me that information. They thought I don't know if they took it as me window shopping, right, or me criticizing, but I was just trying to receive information because I know what I wanted to do from the beginning. Before buying the dog, we already had a trainer lined up for what we were going to do. Does that make sense? So we knew that our daughter was just born and we were going to dive right into it. Oh, we ran into an individual. His name was Joe Church. My wife actually found him. His kennel is NWA Cane Corso. And as I've said, a couple times in the comments, I would love to see you on a show with him because he's awesome. And his dogs were actually what we were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
We're sitting there telling him exactly what kind of temperament we want. He's the type of breeder that picks a dog with you. You don't pick a dog based off of color with him. You know what I mean? And he's not afraid of answering the questions you're asking. That makes sense? Which I think is what's most important. There's a level of transparency that should be had between client and breeder, right? He's not the kind of person that's going to leave you high and dry just because you bought the dog and now it's over. He's he's with you the whole longevity of the dog's life, and he's one of our biggest supporters. And when we told him that we wanted a dog that was fierce and wasn't going to back down, he delivered 3 of those dogs. Um, Especially, I call it a clone. We don't use the word clone too much in the Cane Corso world as much as they do in the bulldog world, bully world. But we have a female that's pretty close to being a clone of his female, right? Of his foundation female, and whew, she's serious. She's serious, and you would never know if you're walking up my driveway. You would think she's the most ferocious dog in the world, but the minute you come in this house, or the minute you're welcome in this house, she loves you. You know what I mean? And that's what I love about it. They can do both. They know when you're supposed to be here, when you're not supposed to be here. They know if you caught everybody off guard by knocking or not. You know what I mean? It really is. They really are one of the best breeds out there. But they're just not for everybody. And there are a lot of good breeders out there. There's a lot of bad breeders out there. That's why I'm just a big advocate for do your research. Do your research. I have a small Instagram page, rock_corso, and we do get a lot of inquiries, right? But I think a lot of the clients out there, a lot of people out there, they have a hard time whenever you ask, do you have any puppies available, and the breeder hits you with, okay, what kind of lifestyle do you live? Because I've realized that I've learned the hard way that gets you left on red a lot. But it's just because we're trying to ensure you that we don't sell you a product or a dog, right? Really, a family member, really, that you're going to regret down the road. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
and that's what it's about. Like I'm some breeders will tell you that people need time to become ready. I don't know if I believe that, but yet again, I'm the kind of person that it has to be in the type of person you are. That's how I've always looked at it. You know what I mean? You can't you can't be the kind of person that's above disciplining your children because of it makes you feel bad, right? And then not set boundaries with your dogs because these are dogs that are going to run your house if you do not set boundaries with your dogs. Kind of like the other line of bulldog, the American bulldogs, right? If you have an American bulldog or you've ever owned an American bulldog, if you do not set boundaries with that dog will run that entire house. Am I right?
Well, yeah, well, definitely with the English they will, and I know that from whatever all the American Bulldog people I've talked to, but the English Bulldogs people don't realize do have a really strong personality and can be more than just stubborn. They can be aggressive. They can be possessive. They can do all the things that you would think an athletic bulldog could do. Um,
And see,
you know,
I did not know that. See, you taught me something today. Because all the English bulldogs I've seen have been very docile, companion dogs. You know what I mean? Big cuddlers. So I've never had the experience of seeing them, you know, be dominant, so to speak, right?
yeah, my 11-year-old now is he's the kind of dog that we don't bring around other dogs. But I've had English bulldogs that were the opposite, that they were just, you know, the same. And with my three French bulldog puppies, I have three different personalities. I have one that I wouldn't bring around other dogs because he's aggressive. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And I don't really like. I'm not trying to beat that out of him or anything like that. I just you just try to correct it and to maintain it and manage it.
Just for a time and place, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so as long as he gets along with my Turkish Shepherd and all of that, I'm okay with that because I don't want I don't
So,
want something bad with that.
can you speak on that? So you said Turkish Shepherd, so you mean Kangal, right? Or Anatolian Shepherd, as people say, right?
Yeah, the reason why I say Turkish Shepherd, and I know it throws people off, is because he's a mix of all three. He's a mix of mainly Anatolian Akbash and then a little bit of Kangal.
Okay, so now because you say Turkish Shepherd, does he take more side of the Akbash temperament or the Kangal, in your words?
I think he's more of a mix of the Anatolian and the Akbash. I don't have any like real experience with a real Kangal. I think there's so few and far between that I can only go off of by what people say. And I think a lot of Kangals that you see in the United States are Anatolian mixes,
Anatolians, correct. I
and
agree with that.
there's so few real Kangals in the states. I don't think a lot of Turkish breeders are really going to sell us their true Kangals.
Because you think that we're not necessarily ready for that level of dog, right?
Yeah, and then they look at it. They look at it a little differently, I think. And if you can get your hands on one, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like there isn't, and even over there, there's so few breeders left that are breeding true pure line Kangals to
Because the
begin with.
popularity, right?
They're breeding dogs more for other activities besides guarding the flock.
Right.
They're breeding it for look. They're breeding for a different kind of temperament, and so they're introducing all these different kinds of breeds. But and then yeah, then to fulfill a market, they're using Akbash and Anatolian to fulfill that market.
Yes, sir. I'm a big fan of all type of. I don't want to say Central Asian. That's wrong. For all the Middle Eastern Shepherd dogs, because yet again, I am a big fan of the Central Asian Shepherd. Our family does. They do own the Caucasian Avcharka, the or Caucasian Shepherd. So we've been around. We spend a lot of time around those dogs too. The large livestock guardian dogs are big. We're big fans of those dogs as well. We just know that what we do, we don't have a lot of livestock. We don't have any livestock really. We're more so of the produce gardeners more than anything else. You know what I mean? The produce farmers more so than and we tried fowl, we've tried livestock. It doesn't work for us. So we don't necessarily have a need for that, but we are big fans here. And I've always wanted to meet a Kango in real life. Hopefully on the right side of it. Um, but one thing that I do intend, aside of our program, I do definitely plan on having a true alibi one day. I just don't know if I'm ready for it quite yet because, like the Kangle, there's a lot of stipulation when it comes to a Central Asian Shepherd and true alibi, right? So it's kind of the same thing. Large livestock guardian dog, so few and far between, and so many people telling you a story, but what's the real thing, right?
Yeah, and there's just like anything else too. There's a different kind of testing out this new little mic setup, and it's pissing me off. Sorry that I keep fooling around over here. Um, there's um, with the livestock guardians, you can't treat them like you treat like you would your Corso, in my opinion, and that's coming from now 3 years living with my Turkish Shepherd. There's a in the training world. There's an argument between the balance trainers and the hands-free, force-free type of trainers, and there's always a huge debate, and there's always some sort of controversy in the training world. And for me, I think I'm always on the line of everything needs an equilibrium, it needs a balance, especially when you're dealing with a big dog that has a lot of power and dominance, and sometimes you don't have the ability, especially you have kids or you have smaller animals, you can't pussyfoot
Um,
around, so to speak. But
so
with the Turkish Shepherd, what I have noticed is, and I did get a little bit of schooling from an LGD person, and what they said was right, is that he listens a lot more when you're not doing it that way, because they don't really listen. They take what you have to say, and they think about it. They have a mind of their own, and that's their job. They're out in the field. It's been so ingrained into them for centuries that they're a land race basically, and their instincts is they're going to think for themselves, and you can only suggest what you need them to do. And if they
right,
respect you, they're going to do it. But it may not be like that, like you want with the Malinois or
right,
even some of your well trained Mastiff type breeds.
right.
So, and the more forceful that I have gotten with him, the less he wants to comply. The least forceful I am with him, the more he'll comply. So when I want him inside and he's playing the game of not wanting to come inside, and it's 11, 12 o'clock at night and he's barking because that's his breed,
Right.
if I try to grab him, which I have, and get him into the house, he's
It's
just
a
going to
fight.
play the game more. You know what I
Right.
mean? He's not going to. He doesn't want that. But the more that I just keep suggesting, keep telling him inside, inside, and hands off, and I'm in a calm voice, and just inside, inside, just repeating myself, he'll eventually come up, rub up against me. They're like a wolf, and the more force they're going to use, force or non-compliance to meet your force. So if you're dealing with an LGD, I'm always about hands free, force free type of training with them for the
Right.
most part. Now, if it came down to you breaking up a fight or them doing something that is going to cause immediate, of course you do what you got to do. But I'm just as the training, I just find that to be the easiest way for them to learn. The yank and crank method is not going to work with these dogs at all.
And to be honest with you, it doesn't work on a lot of these bigger breeds, these massive dogs, anyways. It does to an extent. If the foundation of training's already there, it works. But we have two dogs that uh, if you just yank on their, if you crank on them all day and you just pressure them, especially my younger male, he's going to come up the lead. He's going to come up the lead every time. And basically, what that means is if I put a prong collar on him, right, and I'm going through all of my steps, if I'm just trying to go through practical application and I'm cranking on him and I'm not giving him anything to work with, he's going to come up. So, my youngest male is definitely my personal favorite dog as far as temperament goes because he's like the wild west type dog. You know what I mean? Super outlaw cowboy where he listen. That dude loves his mom. Everybody, the rest of us just here. You know what I mean? So if I crank on him, he's only going to take it so much of it before he pushes back. And I definitely think that every dog has to be trained in the way that best fits them. My number one passion outside of breeding, outside of everything else, is dog training. So because I'm not a dog trainer myself, I am still I study a lot of the arts of dog training, and I like to align myself with people who are into dog training because I'm trying to figure out everything. I want to learn it all, and just hearing the stories about a lot of the herding dogs, a lot of the herders, I see a lot of their temperaments. Right, I've been around a bunch of different Dutchies, you know, German Shepherds, Malinois, and honestly, I'm just like, man, none of these dogs are the same. Not any of these individual dogs were the same. And it's crazy. So I thought to myself, it has to be the same way with every breed, right? There are just certain dogs that must take to a certain level of training differently than others. I like to, I like to leave the comments on YouTube. You know what I mean? When you have another a YouTube dog trainer bashing the other, I like to make my little snide remark in there. But to be honest with you, I follow them all. I'm a lot. I just love dogs. I guess I don't know. Um, I definitely see the difficulties when it comes to training large breed dogs in general, especially dominant breed dogs. Um, it's dangerous to be honest with you, because you might catch some of these. You might catch the right Corso or the right Anatolian on the wrong day, and yanking on him, and he might not enjoy it. Right? So you definitely, one thing I've noticed that's common in all of it is you have to create that bond first, right? You don't create that foundation for the bond, you're not pulling that dog inside that house just like you're not pulling on my dogs outside their crate. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
that's so important.
I think that's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow because I hear every day how their Corso puppy turns 13 months old now, growls at them. It's like, well, what did you think? You know what I mean? You decided to start training too late in life, and you're not gonna be able to pull that puppy out of that crate now, dude, because that dude runs it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then they come to me and they ask me for what to do, and I'm like, listen, I know a guy. I know a guy. I'm not that guy yet, but trust me, I do know the guy to help you with this. Um, I do eventually want to become that guy. My wife will tell you it's my obsession, I would say. But brother, I have to get off here soon. I want to tell you, I want you to keep doing these, and I hope that I'm invited back on here one day.
Yeah, just hit me up on Facebook,
Yes, sir.
um, Sean O'Brien. I'll write my name down.
Please, are you on Instagram too, or no?
Yeah, just look me up on Instagram and send me a DM, Bulldog Social Club on Instagram.